What's up, guys? DrewBlogz here. We are here. It's a sunny day in Cleveland, and I am here at Beat the Streets headquarters, right here on Broadway, located in the heart of Cleveland. And I am here today with Mr. Anthony Spooner, and he is the head of mentoring and coaching for Beat the Streets Cleveland. Kind of give the first episode. This is episode 2 for those of you that have been following along. This is our second episode, with Coach Spooner here. The first one was with Demetrius. Coach Spooner is going to, kind of give his role of what he does here with Beat the Streets and how he kind of got into that role. So, Anthony, how did you come to find Beat the Streets, or how did they find you? How did that happen?
That story actually includes Tadaki Hata.
Okay.
So I brought Hata into Berea for do one of his famous clinics, right?
Yeah.
And we were just kind of sitting along the side of the wall at the end of it, and he had just finished his book, and that thing, I promise you, was like a Bible for me. Like, totally changed my coaching philosophies. However, he was like, Tony, I'm going to this meeting. I want you to come with me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, cool, I can do that. Like you're Tadaki Hata. What do you need with me? And it was a Beat the Streets meeting. And it was that very first crew. We were at John Carroll University, up in like their basketball court, but like, their little press box looking thing. And man, I almost remember everybody that was there. It was pretty much everybody that's on our board now. Vontae Jackson, Tadaki, myself, was kind of like, Tadaki brought us in because he knew he wanted us to be involved. And I ended up, within a year, myself and Corey Mines were like the first 2 head coaches.
Yeah.
I ran a program at RG Jones. He ran a program at Anton Gardena. And we like even messed around and bust the Anton kids over to RG. They wrestled in a duel. Like, David Armstrong was helping out too. And
Dave's a good guy, man.
He's
helped so many people.
Fantastic. Like, he was doing Beat the Streets before Beat the Streets.
Was Beat the Streets. Yeah.
And he got that from, Coach Hunt and like this mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Coach Hunt took those boys, and I don't know if you remember Eddie Warren.
Mm-hmm.
He took those boys everywhere, and out of the group you had Gerald, David, and Eddie Warren. Those were 3 bad dudes right there.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, some unfortunate things, with Eddie and,
And Gerald. We had Gerald around at the beginning. He just had a lot of personal problems that we couldn't get him past.
Yeah.
But we wanted him involved because he was close with Vontae and David. And so Armstrong was helping me out at RG Jones. And when we set up this duel in the school, it was after school, Armstrong looked in the crowd and he said, dude, I was wrestling for Cleveland State when we wrestled Ohio State at Woodling Gym.
Yeah.
He says, this crowd is bigger than that one. And he goes, and we beat Ohio State that year. I go, these parents, like, we have more parents here than you had at a college D1, man. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, they used to, it was a hard time for Cleveland State wrestling there in the later years, I think, for Coach Uffner. Trying to get a crowd in there. Like, for last year's Kent State, Cleveland State duel, you were there. I mean, they had Dolph Ziggler in the gym. The place was packed. It was rocking. Cool. And it's cool to see how the development has changed. Like with, you got Beat the Streets. You guys will bring kids out there for the duel.
Yeah.
And it's Cleveland wrestling, supporting Cleveland wrestling. But not only that, you guys have changed a lot of kids' lives with just this program alone. Before it was even Beat the Streets, you guys were impacting lives, but now even more so. You've got a full-on headquarters. And last time I was here, there weren't even these wrestling mats behind us. It was just a
putting these down was fun. Like I told you, the renovations will come if the donations come, and we're working on that campaign. However, like, if this never changed, we'd stay happy. Man.
Absolutely, like, you got wrestling mats wall to wall, and before it was just a concrete floor, and then it's a place that these kids can call home now, and this is like their safe place to come and hang out. And especially in the summer. The summertime can be hard on kids that from maybe inner city, or maybe they have a rough home life, and this is their safe place.
A lot of times the summer for a lot of our babies is inconsistency. Like, you know, I mean, you know, the school is the routine that
Yep.
the parents can count on,
Yep.
right? And as long as that's happening, a lot of these parents who are working 2 jobs, right, that's their balance. They, you know, have a peace of mind.
Yeah.
Kids going to school, you know, all right. But when that summer hits, man, like we as a coaching staff, we're already talking like how open can we actually be? Like if we were 24/7, I don't think anybody would call us crazy. But you know, that's also, you know, we have families, but dude, like the want to be 24/7, man, I'll throw bunk beds out there, like whatever, like just for
To
everybody
keep
to
the
know.
consistency for the kids that like, you know, because it's summer, even for you know, school teachers or, you know, as adults too.
Yep.
You know, the consistency is important to keep like your routine going.
Yeah, I used to teach, so you know, for 13 years, like you were asking about how I got into this, like this role. 13 years, I was working with kids with emotional behavioral challenges, and so when I was at Garfield Heights, we had this middle school team that like went undefeated for like 40 matches until like the state dual qualifier, and then we finally lost in the semis. So that was our first loss in like 2 years. But this group of kids were wrestling for 2 months and beating kids that have been wrestling for 2 years. Yeah. They were wrestling for a week and beating kids that have been wrestling for a year. Like they were constantly doing this, and it was like my first glimpse of wait, like this is not like an untapped resource, but like this is a need.
Yeah.
This is a need. Like they're feeding off this, and now their school's getting better. Half that team was my classroom. Like half that team were the kids that no teachers wanted in their classroom.
The so-called bad kids.
Yes,
well, and it's not that they're bad kids. They have behavioral problems because maybe they don't have the best life at home. They've got something happened to mom and dad, or you know, and they're living with grandma and grandpa.
Like, everything, man. The stories aren't the same. The stories keep changing. I hear something new that I would never have bet on. You know, like, oh, there's probably a kid out there with you know, living with his uncle, and his uncle, you know, has already been arrested for, you know, messing around with drugs, but, you know, just got like, oh yeah, you know, there's 2 kids like that. And it's just knowing that, so seeing that, and my experience at Garfield Heights, like I had this connection where I just wanted to continue to provide wrestling for the kids that you don't see at all the camps. The kids you don't see at all the open mats. The kids you don't see at open tournaments. The kids you don't see them unless they're wrestling for their school. And in Cleveland, there is no programs. Like when we were in school, what they have? CYO.
You were lucky if you had a guy like Coach Hunt.
Yes.
That took you around.
He was Beat the Streets before we had Beat the Streets.
Yeah.
He was doing what made sense. I would say he is a model for us. Like this is how he did it. We don't have to change it.
Those boys, they may have come from Collinwood, but they were respectful, and they were on time. They were at every single event that we were at, and they wanted to be there. And they were damn good, man.
Yes.
And Coach Hunt, I just remember him being everything, man. You know.
Yeah, he was everything.
R.I.P. to Coach Hunt. That guy was definitely doing Beat the Streets work before Beat the Streets was ever a thing.
Well, and then to add into that, R.I.P. Richie Robertson.
I don't know if I ever got
Richie Robertson just passed away with Maple Heights. Okay. And I mean, this dude.
Was this related to Enrique Robertson?
Yes.
Okay.
His son was a state champ.
Yeah, he beat Chris Honeycutt in the semis or the finals one year at 189. That dude was a freak of an athlete.
Maple is sneaky for that, right? Always sneaky for that. And so I met Richie when I was in Garfield Heights, because Garfield Heights, Maple Heights, Bedford, like that's kind of your run around crew. And so like this dude is probably, if Beat the Streets exists for 10 more years, Richie has probably still been in more youth's lives than if we were to continue for 10 more years. And so another RIP to people that have been doing what we're doing. And, it's not on me to take credit for this. This has been happening. We're just creating space and opportunity.
Yeah.
And then committing to it. And so I took this job because I was tired of teaching. Being in one classroom, like I was telling you. I was tired of being in one classroom all day. For 13 years. And so now I get
Was it that you felt like you weren't making the impact that you wanted to make?
Yeah, like I can take care of 4 or 5 kids and love their parents, and they still reach out to me, and I still help them through high school even when I left, because the relationships were there. That's
Right.
how we do all this.
Yeah.
However, 50 kids come in at a night, and the relationships are there too. Like, I want to feed off that, right? And I know the people in the schools now.
Yeah.
We'll get there. CMSD, right? We'll get these K through 12, K through 8. There was nothing, man. Like I was saying, we had CYO.
Yeah.
See, there was all the CYO programs were pumping in the kids we wrestled with.
Yeah. St. Bernadette's and
Rayfield and Angela's and
St. Gabe's.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So Cleveland literally does not have access to youth wrestling through any school.
And then they start Buckeye League's out of Garfield now, right?
Yes, we are part of the Buckeye League. So when we compete in the youth, we're part of Buckeye League. We took third my first year coaching here in this league.
That's pretty cool.
It was really cool. Like, honestly, I coached with Eds. I've gotten the green team championship tournament trophies. Like, those are all cool. But when they handed me this trophy, man, like, that was the first time like goosebumps. I still have chills when I look at it, because it was, first of all, this was like my big leap of faith. Like, wait, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, I was coaching 3 teams. I was the head coach for Beat the Streets Youth, head coach for Beat the Streets Middle, and then assistant head coach at Heights with Willie Newton. And that was all this last winter.
Man, that's I mean, your day is wrestling 24/7.
It was cool. It's really cool. In Heights, we broke a 19-year streak of not having a state qualifier.
That's awesome.
We broke that with Darion really Thompson, and it really special, man.
That's a long time. I mean, and Madison.
So it was 2004. We were at Perrysburg districts. First year they had Perrysburg, and I beat Eric Zednick in the quarterfinals. That was their last state qualifier.
Wow.
So, like, I'm coaching the team to get them a state qualifier, and I was the reason they haven't had a state qualifier. It was a wild story, dude.
That is cool, kind of how it came full circle.
Yes, because it happened at Perrysburg too.
Yeah, Madison, where I'm from, I was coaching there last year. Those boys are coming to still work out with me over at Spire.
Yeah.
And they love it, and they're getting better from it. Their head coach, Andrew Tomaso, texted me later. He's like, Addison and Sonny look the best they've looked in a long time, so like I know it's paying off from them coming over there and stuff, which is cool to hear. But I still, like you said, the relationships that you have helping the wrestling, and what just the relationship that you have with those kids that you've coached, and you want to see them succeed off the mat just as much.
So much more.
Like, is that because wrestling is only so long?
I don't get to brag about these kids winning on a mat. I didn't do it. So we were at Virginia Beach. Like, we threw a team together because NHSCA was like, hey, free registration for Beat the Street kids. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like, we just got to do a hotel, and I think we can make this happen. And we did. And we left with 2 All-Americans.
That's sweet.
Trent Thomas from Bedford, who's a Kent State recruit now.
Oh, yeah, he's a tough kid.
Yeah, and Brandon Caesar, who didn't make it to States, but was a sophomore All-American at Virginia Beach.
That's awesome.
Yes, it was. Point being, like, we had this amazing turnout of kids, a great time, and a couple of these dads were on a trip with us, and they said, Coach, like, how you feel, man? Like, you did all this. And I said, no.
You guys did.
Yeah, like, they're like, yeah, but, like, look at all the success they had on the mat this weekend. And I said, yeah, but that's them wrestling.
Yeah.
I go, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take credit for one thing. Like, y'all, I think with my role as head of coaching and mentoring, like, more importantly than bringing good coaches in, and more importantly than being like an example of mentoring, is bringing in good adults. I don't need wrestling knowledge. I need adults. I need a great adults to be around these kids, because nothing else will work.
Yeah, if you don't have good adult, like, you can only do so much as the coach, because you only see them for a short period of time that they're here. You need the other people that are around them more, or when they are going to these tournaments, that are positive around them, and the adults that are helping you guys doing like the grunt work that the coaches aren't doing. like the legwork behind, you know, getting the kids to tournaments,
Yeah.
on time, making sure weight's good, making sure that homework's done,
Making sure they ate.
you know, exactly, making sure these kids, you know, I couldn't tell you how many times my parents would pack the van full of kids. They'd pick like me, Palmer, all us up from Moran's camp, and we'd drive home. And my parents would make sure everybody ate before they got home, because, you know, some of the kids we were taking, they didn't get to these chance to go to these camps. But the reason they were able to go to these camps was because of a place like St. Edward or West Shore. You know, Coach Seiko would cover them.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just what we did. And my parents, like, you have parents like that, or, you know, my parents would have kids stay the night. The living room would be lined like wall to wall with kids that stay in the night, because, you know, my parents knew if they stayed at their place that they would make sure they got there safely and on time, and everybody had their gear all the time. Absolutely,
we want to do that all the time. Like, we got kids, you know, East Side Cleveland and in the Heights, and, you know, Shaker, and just all speckled around Cleveland. And the scariest, like the most nerve-wracking time of any day is that, like, 5 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah, making sure did so-and-so get there. Yeah, who didn't wake up? Like, exactly. If you could have them all sleep on the wrestling mat the night before, wake your bus up, and we're going to the van, and we're leaving at 5 a.m.
I promise you, man,
leaving out.
We have had that talk because we know that as long as we stay that resource, right? Like, and we have enough buy-in, and they're subscribing to, you know, what comes out of our mouth that's more than wrestling. It's so, like, I swear I don't do as much coaching wrestling as I do
life work.
Yeah, life work, youth development, you know, mentoring, because,
well, the stuff that they're not learning in school, like how to balance a checkbook or how to, you know, make sure bank accounts are set up.
These things exist.
That's life. That's the life things that they want. You know, maybe they're not their favorite thing isn't school, but they know that they have an outlet here, and they know that, you know, life's going to happen eventually after wrestling. For a lot more of these kids than some that are going to go to college.
And, you know, if they wrestled, that life ahead of them is a little easier.
Not entirely, because life throws a bunch of crazy things at us, as we know, but they're more prepared for it because of the sport of wrestling, and that's just the truth of what wrestling creates for so many kids.
I've never heard anybody deny that. You know, in all the wrestling communities you and I have been in, and we continue to see grow, you know, nobody says that, you know, wrestling was pointless to them. Never.
If it weren't for wrestling, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, because later on in life, after my college career was over and I was trying to find about what I wanted to do with my life, I wouldn't have been able to get out of the holes or the places I dug myself into, you know, without having the resource from wrestling and knowing the mindset that I had, that, like, you got to get up and you got to apply yourself to this if you want to make this happen, or you got to go here to make this happen.
Right.
Everything is, you know, relative of what you're doing next. You know, it's like you learn that from wrestling. The next best thing. You know, chase the next best thing.
And accountability,
you know? Like timeliness, accountability, respectful. You know, if you can corner those three things, I think you got a pretty good start. You know?
I do too, man. And there's so many of them that not only are they like, do they embody that most of the time? They're a different person here. Like, we have parents who come in and be like, how do you get him to behave like that? Or like, why did he drive you crazy today? And you're like, no, he was great. And like, wait, how? Why? Like, you know, and
this is their happy place.
I think so, you know, and it's undeniable. I see it. It's undeniable. And
they get to roughhouse.
This is my happy place now because of it, right? You know, so I'm so thankful that, like, I get to wake up and do what I do, because it's not easy, but I love the passion.
Yeah, it's fulfilling.
It is. It's fulfilling in a lot of ways that might sound like I'm bragging, but like, this isn't. A lot of people argue that, you know, hey, what you do is selfless. I'm like, nope. I'm selfish as ever, because I love how I feel when they show me a report card. I love how I feel when they get accepted to college. Like, that's what's feeding me.
Yeah.
So no, this isn't selfless. Like, I love this.
And some people, you know, like, you know, they're like, well, you know, there's not that much money in a sport like that. There really isn't, but it's also what you make of it too. Like I live a nice life. I'm a full-time wrestling coach. I'm a full-time media. Like that's
yeah.
and I get to be, not only do I get to be around the sport from the media standpoint, so I get to see both ends of it. I get to see it from the media standpoint. I get to see it from the coaching standpoint. I get two different sides of wrestling. So I get to be around the sport 24/7. Like I set out 3 years ago when I was like, I can't work this every day, 9 to 5.
No.
Pushing at Amazon. Like I couldn't do it anymore. And this was right around COVID, and I was like trying to find what I wanted to do. So I started my blog writing and stuff, turned into more video content. And I was like, how can I be around the sport? I didn't want to coach yet at that point. And I started helping out at Madison. Then sure enough, like I started like the kids, I'm like, man, these kids are special. These are cool kids, man. These kids want to work. They want to change their culture here. And sure enough, after the year I was there, they had their first two state qualifiers since 2014. And like it's things like that.
Those are the trophies, man.
Yeah.
Those are our trophies. Like these memories. Like we're not trying to get rich, but we have a ton of wealth. Right?
Yeah, you said, relationships and the people. I tell this to all the time. Like we picked up, Jess and I, with our company, we picked up a volleyball league and a girls basketball league. And we did the film work for this company, these leagues, and a couple events. A dad would pull me aside, like, "Hey, do you cover wrestling too?" Like, and I was like, "Well, what gave that away?" They're like, "Well, your socks were tucked into your pants, and they're rudest." Right. And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." And
in the ear a little bit. Like,
yeah, you meet people he's like, yeah, volleyball kind of drives me crazy, but my daughter does it. And if she wrestled, it'd be a lot cooler. And you meet these people that aren't even like, it's not a wrestling event, but you meet someone that knows wrestling and you talk for hours. Like just the wrestling community itself. And you probably know some of the same people because, again, the wrestling community is super small, tight knit. Everybody knows everybody. And the relationships that I say that I have today through the sport of wrestling are the best relationships I've ever had.
Yeah.
Out of anything, out of school, work.
Yeah.
Like, and now my work is family, from wrestling. Right? I get to work with Kolzicki. Like
amazing, right?
Like the fact that I get to work in an office with Mike and at Spire Academy itself is like dream come true. It's 10 minutes away from my house, and when they started building that place, I always said, wouldn't it be cool if they added wrestling here and they made it like an Olympic training center? Well, now that stuff's starting to come to fruition, and it's like I get to work here at the ground level of starting their first program and seeing what we're able to build there, and the fact that we're hosting these camps and stuff and changing the wrestling culture out that way, out as far east as it gets, really, for Ohio.
Sticks, man.
And it's a blessing, man. I get to the relationships again. It's I've met Mike when I was a kid and going into high school at St. Ed's, and when he recruited me to come to Michigan, and nice. Now I'm working with him. Like it's like you don't get that type of stuff from, hey, if I worked with Bob or whoever at the old workplace where I was selling cars at, you think Bob's going to be like, hey, you should come recruit with me at this place? Right. Like, no, it's just the wrestling gives you those opportunities. You'd be lucky if he remembered
your name.
Exactly. Like wrestling is an entire lifestyle. And everybody finds their way back to the mat. I feel like if you've been around the sport, if you loved it.
Yeah. Even my dad, we have a coach, Christina. She's our head women's coach.
I'm actually interviewing her Friday.
She's great.
Yeah.
Like you'll love it because her family background is so rich. Like her dad, Joe Schmidt, dude was one of Wade Chalice's first recruits for Clemson.
Wow.
And like
at Clemson, man, that's a program.
Remember that?
Hey, if the SEC is listening, y'all need to bring wrestling back.
Oh, I couldn't imagine like
Sammy Henson. You got history like Sammy Henson. You got NCAA champion Sammy Henson, who goes on to wrestle on our Olympic team, and you don't have a program there, and you got schools that are states like that are coming back up through because like wrestling just wasn't prevalent there.
Now look at Kentucky wrestling.
Yeah, you got the Ramies.
Yeah, it's like
unfortunately they're I don't know if you heard they're not allowed to wrestle at Fargo this summer. They had to they tried the one twin weighed in for the other and they got sanctioned. So yeah.
Well, it gets competitive out there. Kids stay competitive.
Those Kentucky guys, you gotta watch out for them.
But I love seeing it.
Yeah, it gives us more competition.
I want to see more Georgia. I want to see more Louisiana,
Tennessee, and Florida. Florida's always been tough. They've always had tough
pockets.
kids. Yeah, pockets. You had South Dade, and then you had Brandon.
We had Brandon in high school. Yeah, I remember.
I never beat a kid from South Dade. I'm 0-2 or 0-3 against them. I can wrestle the one kid twice and the one kid once. Kendrick Sanders was one of them, the human highlight reel power bomb guy in Greco.
Oh my God!
I wrestled him at senior nationals, and it was he was beating me 9-0, or no, 10. It was 10-0, and I headlocked him twice. Caught up and ended up losing by a point, 10-9. And it was just an all-out, like, just upper body war.
I honestly remember you because of headlocks.
That's what most people say.
Gasper had the headlock, right? And I tell you, like, it's not a middle school move when you start to understand the art behind it. I'm watching so much freestyle and so much Greco.
And you get a good headlock, you kill people.
I'm just saying, like, and they're there. And you start
to see how hard it is to fight off your back once you get someone on their back from that too?
That was my biggest fear. My biggest fear in wrestling, my biggest weakness was being in a headlock.
I got caught in them too.
I freaked out. I thought, like, I was fatalistic once I was in a headlock. Like, I'm going to die in this position.
I got choked out in one before.
So, dude, I remember
there was a kid from Lakota West, beat me in the junior high state semifinals, and then my first match in high school was the kid. And there have been times I was winning the match, a point from teching the kid, and he would headlock me. He had this really good headlock. And finally, it's like, I'm going to use his move against him. Well, first round of the state duels my sophomore year, we got to wrestle Lakota West. I beat him 12-0. And it was like, I remember losing to that kid so many times because of the dangerous move. Well, I beat him at his own game that time. And from there, like, the 1 year out at Fargo, I think in Greco, I just headlocked everybody. And I was like, this move kind of works in everything. And I was good at it. So I wasn't like, I was never out of a match. And in fact, that's how I didn't pin Ben Jordan with a headlock. That was more of like just almost like an elevator situation.
But just the feel. Oh, yeah, I love it.
I love putting the match away early too, because if you get off the mat quick, you get off the mat quick.
We just had a kid, one of Reggie's kids that wrestles for him at Shaw.
Yeah.
Shaw has a Fargo qualifier now.
Yeah, that's what he said. This is his second straight year he's had a qualifier there.
And
that's a big come up for a school like Shaw.
Dude, I knew it as soon as Reggie took the job. I knew it, like, because that boy, he's one of the. I'll take credit for making sure he's with Beat the Streets. Like, Reggie, come on, hey, we need you here, Reggie. Reggie, come to this thing. All right, now he's bought in, right?
Yeah.
And getting Reggie bought in has been one of the most important aspects of our program. And then adding Coach Christina and then being able to tell moms and dads that come in that we have not just one but two dedicated female coaches with Samaya Kemp.
That's amazing.
Dude, it is. It really is. When there was some that Buckeye League did Perry does a good job with girls wrestling.
They do a great job with girls wrestling. Perry
Nick Mann's out there.
Oh, really?
Yes. Nick Mann has like 5 daughters too. Like,
that's funny, man. He's a great dude. He used to come up and help at Ed's when I was there.
Yes, he was one of my coaches.
Yeah, he was a good man. He's from Willoughby originally.
He was awesome. I graduated with his brother, Steve.
We had Andy Rovat back for a little bit in Willoughby. We were talking one day, and Rovat's like, yeah, I'm in Willoughby. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah.
Dude, he popped into Beat the Streets one time just like that too.
Yeah, and then we were in Vegas, and
like he just got back from Russia or something.
Yeah, he's always somewhere, man. Now he's in Texas.
Dude, he taught me the value of the whistle.
That wrestle to the whistle or what?
No, like how to use a whistle to run a practice.
Oh, okay.
Like it was,
I thought that would have been Frank Jane.
No,
sure.
Dude, it was special, man. Like
Frank Jane used to carry around a boat whistle.
I remember it. The boat whistle and a notepad.
Yeah, and he used to. Well, it was a special day when Frank Jane would bring his hand towel in, because he'd teach you how to put soap on the rag and show you how you should. No, this is how you have to like. Okay, coach.
Thanks, coach.
Like, yeah, he would always he'd tell my mom, "Mother, need to talk to you," and just in that stern Frank Jane voice. And I always Coach Jane. He was just had so much wisdom, And then those were the two guys when I was in high school that I would go to. I'd go to Coach Jane, always after practice, whatever he want me to do, some type of workout or work on something, and I'd go to Coach Smith.
Wow.
And Coach Smith, I tell kids this from St. Ed's now, yeah, you guys have great coaches, and being under Coach Heff, there's nothing like it. But I got to have Coach Smith in my corner for a couple years, and still with cancer, the guy was coaching in the state finals in his PJs, just being comfortable.
He's amazing, dude.
And he's so selfless, like every day. The guy had every reason to stay home, to be in a hospital bed, whatever. He just grinded it out in the state finals, coaching, taking us green team guys places. And he just, and then I think it was Coach Smith and Coach Hector. Yeah, Gene Hector.
They were my green team coaches.
They were awesome. And then Kinley would help too.
Yep. I had them. I had the brothers.
The Dawsons.
Dawson brothers. Yeah. They were my lifeline.
The Dawson brothers are awesome.
Dawson brothers were my lifeline, and then Leonard.
Do you remember the old Dawson trained shirts that they had made with the cheeseburgers, curling the cheesburgers?
That was like awesome. Right after I graduated.
Yeah, Ron Dawson, and then there was Ron. Tom, and then and
the one that taught at Ed's for a minute.
Yeah. Oh my God, and that's the one I talk to all the time. I see him. Ken. Yep.
So I got a picture, like one of my throwback pictures of wrestling with Ed's is Dawson.
Yeah, Ken was the one who taught chemistry, and then Tom. One lives in Willowick now.
Dude, we had great
awesome coaches,
and honestly, like that was something I would say I pulled from St. Ed's. Like a lot of people say, like it's iron sharpens iron in our room. Well, yeah, it is, but it's also like the iron gets melted down by these coaches too, and beaten back up.
Yeah.
Like
it's cool to see the coaching tree that's come from St. Edward.
Yeah.
There's so many of us guys there. Even though I didn't graduate from there, I'm still I still get invited to alumni stuff. I mean, like, I wish I would have graduated from there. Looking back, I only did a year and some couple months at Madison. That's where I'm from originally, but St. Ed is home. I still that's home. That's where I learned everything at, and the coaching tree off of that is amazing. You got Kulzicki, and you got guys like Mose still helping.
Dude, not Alan Freed. Gene Mills used to be a regular coach. Ferguson used to fly him in once a week.
Mean Gene Mills.
Yep, to teach that half, and half will say that it drove him crazy because half had to learn a half. Like Ferguson's like, you do what Mills shows you, or you're not on the varsity lineup. And he's like,
the Heffernans were the master of the stutter step. His brother Jim.
No kidding. That's the first time I heard
the stutter step. Well, if you watch, I forget what year it was for his NCAA finals. Jim Heffernan shakes the guy out of his shoes, and you wouldn't think that.
No, you wouldn't.
The Heffernan brothers.
No, heavyweight coach.
But he would. He was stutter stepping, and the guy was just and he wasn't even really moving. He would just shuffle his feet, and the dude was falling all over the mat. And I still teach this to my guys.
Yeah,
you don't really have to fake. When you fake, you should be faking so well that you think you're actually going to take the shot.
Yeah, it looks like your shot.
But also, just sell them with those little stutter steps, and you'll have people reacting to you.
Yeah, that's Armstrong taught us split step. Oh, I love it too.
Dave Armstrong was so athletic.
Not only that, his wrestling IQ was ridiculous.
Insane. Well, I think a lot that year that he did at University of Oklahoma.
Yeah,
did a lot for him. Being out there, and he was a great wrestler at Cleveland State. A lot of success. I think he he took down Tion Ware first. The NCAA tournament.
Him and Tion became really close friends. Some of our Beat Street kids have had a Tion Ware practice.
That guy is awesome.
It's incredible.
He's jacked. I didn't realize how big he got after
college. He stayed like a cowboy. He's out there in Wyoming. He owns cows.
And Hayeswinkle's now gone from Oklahoma. I don't know where Heflin and them are going to end up because Kish took over.
I know.
And I think that's a good hire. I think that's a good hire for Oklahoma. You hate to see Rosselli go out that way. I would never expect something.
But again, it's good adults. It's hard, man. And not that they're not good adults, but we are all susceptible to
failures. Happen.
It's a human mistakes, but also just losing sight of why you got into it, or losing sight of the kids.
Yeah.
If it's ever not about the kids, for me, if these coaches were ever honestly, dude, if I hear you just talk trash on a kid to another coach, you and I are talking.
Yeah.
Because the world's hard enough, man. Like, if anything, if they never remember anything we coached and taught them on the mat, they'll remember, like Maya Angelou said, they might not remember what we say or what we do, but they'll remember how we made them feel. That's it.
You can always remember how a coach was, with, just like certain demeanor, like Coach Huff's demeanor, or like
a shark,
like a stone face, but there were also the glimpses that I got, like pull him, I had before a match, pull him in, like give me some like a pep talk before a match, and like still to this day, we were at the U.S. Open this year, and Kozicki and I didn't have a rental car, and Coach Huff was like, pile in, and we're like, it was me, the butler and his dad, and then Kozicki and our wrestler from Spire, Coach Huff, all in a little Ford Explorer. And we get in the car, and Mike goes, "Oh, the only ones we're missing are the Miller brothers. Throw them in the middle, like
circle back."
But those are just the types of things that like we do as wrestler, man. Like it's Coach Huff is there to try and make his wrestlers better, and we were just along for the ride.
I got to do my senior project with Huff, so I spent 3 24-hour shifts at his
fire station,
and then, like you said, getting to meet the dad behind Coach Huff, getting to meet the husband, getting to meet the former
because
wrestler.
He's not just the wrestling coach, like him and Shannon and the kids, man. I remember Colin when he was a little kid.
Oh, with the glasses.
Man.
And, Bree.
And him ended up being the wrestler that he ended up becoming. Like, I would have never expected it. But then how could you not? It's John Heffernan's his son.
Something's gonna click.
It's gonna click eventually. I guarantee it. He's a Heffernan, and but yeah, it's just things like that you make, the coaches that make an impact on you, and how like parents, I would say, are the biggest struggle. Like you said, it's important to have the good parents, and unfortunately, our sport, we've got some parents that are not so.
Yeah, they get lost.
They're doing more disservice for their kid.
Yes.
And you'll hear sometimes people say, well, we took second at like, what's this we? Is there a mouse in your pocket? Like, what's going on? Because I thought your son wrestled or your daughter wrestled out there, and they did great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's this we?
They didn't hear you in the corner, right?
Yeah. and the work has been done. So regardless of what they do out there on the mat, the work's been done. That they maybe didn't prepare well enough. Then they lost a certain match. But some of these parents, like, they're telling their kid what weight they're going. Like, as soon as the season's over, because coaches, high school coaches can't really, whatever the rule is with OHSA, but at Spire Academy we're not OHSAA, but like we can coach our guys year round. But then dad gets control of the leash, and dad's running your summer program. It's like I think teaching the kids that, like, your coach is your coach. Your parents need to be your parents, and just let the coach, like, my dad coached me all the way up through until I got to West Shore, and then my dad said he just let Guy Seiko and the coaches do the coaching.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, what am I going to tell? My dad's like, what am I going to tell John Heffernan or Coach, or like these guys have, like, what am I going to do? My dad's like, I wrestled at Mentor and had a good record, but like I don't know what they know. Like, I'm just let them coach.
You remember the movie Pinned?
Yeah. Oh, I'm in it.
Okay.
I'm in the deleted scenes, popping my eyeball out with the lances on.
I'm gonna go watch deleted scenes tonight. However, remember what he said when he got asked, "Do you hope your kid, if you have kids, you
doesn't
have
want them to wrestle?
Do you hope they wrestle?"
He said no.
I hope they do swimming. He goes, something I know nothing about, so I could just sit in the stands and appreciate it.
Well, Colin, he's his son, Caden. And I've grown up, we were 18 when he was having, like, Caden, and I'll never forget when he found out he was having Caden. Like, that's still, Colin's still my boy to this day. And watching Caden grow up now, wrestling, and, he loves football, loves baseball, and, he wrestles. And I think he's starting to get the more of the wrestling itch now. But, like, he hasn't gone out and won Tulsa 6 times, and Colin never put those expectations on him.
That's what I was going to say, man. Like, have you ever met a college coach that wanted to know what you did in middle school?
Never.
No, never. No,
hey, how'd you do at junior high state?
Right, like, come on.
Oh, you lost in the semifinals. I think we're going to have to,
I'm going to go talk to that guy.
Yeah. Insane. Like, the Buckeye League and every other youth league, you go there and there's dads, like, headgears through the belt loop, and they're, Johnny, Johnny,
eye
listen,
opener, dude.
look over here.
Complete eye opener.
Like,
oh my god,
it's insane. It's absolutely
and
insane.
two separate situations where I intentionally stayed by a kid
For their safety.
For their safety, because the stuff that was coming out of that adult's mouth hurt me. It had me feeling some sort of way. I couldn't imagine if I was an undeveloped youth brain. Come on.
Like then they begin to think that like that's just wrestling. And I asked Coach Heff this during the season, because at this point in time during the season I was starting to see some of the crazier side of things with the parents. And I asked Coach Heff, I was like, was it this bad when I was a kid, or like youth wrestling, have the parents always been this crazy? And Coach Heff said, oh yeah, it's always been this way. I guess like being on the other side of the fence when I am covering stuff, I see different things. And it's bizarre. It's eye-opening as you're an adult, because when you're a kid and you hear like parents, you yelling, you're coaching, but I never realized how many just regular dads that were they're out there coaching that really don't know the sport. Like, yeah, I appreciate you wanting to help and all, but dude, you're not doing them any.
Even Urbis would admit Urbis never tried to tell us how to wrestle. He told us the things that he realized were important, the constant priorities, the forearm shivers.
Let's give him a forearm shiver. Yeah,
forearm shivers in the stance, and like those were your reminders. But even he let
Coach Heff do the coaching.
Yes, because that was what he understood. I tell you. Like you were saying, like the pressure. Have you ever noticed every single Penn State interview? Every single Penn State wrestler interview, they were out having fun. And
you'll hear people say this about them. That's the same thing we grew up going to St. Edward was. You're trying to tell me those kids are having fun? They're like robots. They're just trained to say that they're having fun. Like, no, I can guarantee you that David walks into that room just like he did when he was 12. Just like he did when he was 10, and is having just as much fun, if not more fun now.
He's not cutting weight.
and like that. Well, Dave was always like that. I always found it like I loved the sport, but I didn't love it like Dave, or like Logan. Like Logan, they loved the sport so much they obsessed over it.
Yeah.
And even a kid like you had Jamie Clark who beat David.
Jamie Clark's fantastic.
And Jamie was like, Jamie got burned out. Got to college, burnt out.
We saw both sides of coming out of Eds, and I look back and I say that to other coaches and other parents. I go, I saw both sides. I saw greatness from high school into college, and I saw greatness in high school and F college, and I saw mediocrity through high school and blossomed in college. I saw quitting in high school, and joining club wrestling in high school. Like in college, like the burnout though was real. You and I wrestled with a lot of good kids that had no intention. Pat Phelan beat Jason Johnstone at Ironman, then beat Protz, then lost to Jaggers in the finals of Ironman. He wasn't supposed to be in there because Madsen was hurt. So
he seized his opportunity.
But he didn't care to wrestle in college.
It is for some people, and it isn't. Yeah, and like you said, you see both sides of it. The burnout is real; it's a real thing,
and the glory is real.
But at the same time, it's like like every interview you hear at Penn State, the kids are saying they're having fun. They are, because one, they're in the best room in the world, and they're learning the IQ that Cale has, that David has. I got to talk to Dave at Vegas. It's the first time I've seen him since probably high school or college probably. And then he's like, you'll have to come out sometime and do some footage and stuff. I was like, it's cool to be able to catch up with someone like that, because one of my first blogs it was when Dave was getting ready to wrestle for a gold medal, and he retweeted it and thought a lot of people read it, and that's kind of what got me going. Like, oh, this is cool. I got to, and he reflected on his journey. He's like, it was cool because I was reading about my junior high years and high school years to now I'm sitting here, in Tokyo getting ready to wrestle for a gold medal. He's like, it kind of comes full circle. Cool. And like he said, he's just still having fun with it. He gets to the kids that he's coaching, they all come out to watch him wrestle for the world team trials. They're all going to be there at Final X. And every time he's come home with a world medal, there they are at the M2 center ready. They greet their fearless leader when he gets home. Like, he's still having fun doing it, man. And at the same time, think of how many kids are going to have David Taylor technique. They're like, his first kid that came all the way through M2 was in the NCAA finals this year as a freshman. What's his name? Levi Haynes was the first M2 trained kid from the time he was little all the way through college. Now a freshman in the NCAA finals.
That was crazy.
Personally, I think Andonian had him stuck, but
I saw it.
But it is what it is. Kid's a really good wrestler, man. Really good wrestler.
Andonian has fun.
Andonian's also extremely fun to watch. I mean,
exactly, because he's having fun. Like, he has confidence in himself.
It took him a while to get back into the groove this season. I think we were at the Purple Raider this year. It was his first time back, and it was the Purple Raider tournament, and beating up everybody pretty quick. And then this kid from West Virginia, who happens to be a Marysville kid, didn't know this at the time. They end up going to overtime, and this kid isn't even a starter at West Virginia. So he made that kid's day by going to overtime. But he'll have matches like that because of his style.
Yeah.
And like, the kid's shoe came off, and like, it was a wild match. But Bryce was doing Bryce things, and sometimes kids that are real solid finish him off. They lift to finish him. They're able to get a takedown on. But it was just a tight match, and but sometimes it isn't fun. Those times like that, it can be grueling, because like, you're trying to get your wind back, you're trying to get wrestling shape back. That can be grueling, man. And then say you do take a loss or something. That's the losing does suck, man. It's not fun, but you gotta, once you hit a certain level, you gotta learn from those losses.
Not even like a certain level. Like, I start that off in youth. I go, look, I won't watch y'all lose all season. We're not gonna take one loss this season. Like, what? Like, you'll run out of time in a few matches, but as long as you learn, as long as we have something to talk about after your matches, when there's no L's, like, losing is quitting. Losers don't show up. Losers stop. As long as you keep showing up, it's wins and learns. That's a pretty cool formula.
Yeah, because exactly like you said, there is no college coach to make, hey, how did that kid do in the Buckeye League again in fourth grade?
Never.
Oh, he lost to Enrique. Oh man, we're gonna have to take Enrique. Like, it is crazy, man. But yeah, you teach them at a young age, like, how to handle a loss and how to bounce back from tough things. Like, that just teaches you how to bounce back in life too. It comes full circle.
It does.
And you guys are doing such an amazing job here. It's so cool to see the mats wall to wall now, and I know there's more coming. It's like I feel like each time I've come here, it's been different. Got the sign out the door, and
I know we're gonna get some like window, like those things will be like on the windows.
Oh, okay.
That'll look cool. The outside will get painted. Like, there's a lot of little things, but again, like I said, we have everything we need to continue to do what we love to do, and the only thing we like need, besides the support of donations and stuff. Like, I remember going, hey, remember Dolph was at that thing. I said, Dolph, if you just asked for $1 from every one of your followers, and you were like, woo, but it's wild like that, because
to literally think about it, if literally every person gave $1, you know how much money you just raised?
Over $1 million.
Yeah,
I know. It's funny, because I think social media is incredible that way. We got like this huge influx of wrestling shoes, all because Julius did a rock paper scissors at one of his clinics with Beat the Streets, and his account is so well followed that we started to get an outcry of, hey, how can we get you more shoes? How can we get you more shoes?
It's amazing. Johnny's the man, and we were supposed to have him for one of our camps. We only had 3 kids that ended up
He's
signing
one of the
up.
camp clinicians, best camp clinicians ever.
Hands down, one of the best clinicians to get in your order. Not only do the kids love him, but he loves it himself, and he just, like he said, he's like, I don't think there's anybody out there right now that does more clinics than I do. Like, I leave my house and I go around the country. He's making his rounds while still jumping off of buildings, walking on airplane wings. Like, I grew up with Johnny, Johnny and Ty Mitch, always in the same bracket, and James Ingram, always in the same bracket. And those guys would scrap, and then you threw Hunter Stieber and Jamie Clark in there, Cam Tassari. like those were some lethal brackets. Like if you go back and look at some of the junior high state brackets, it's all one division, and you have like you look on there and like Ty Mitch has taken 7th place, Ty and Johnny in for 5th and 6th or something like that. Like they were loaded with talent, and like the guys are all giving back still. Like you got Ty Mitch, he's doing his thing. You got Johnny doing his thing, and you know it's cool to see. You know, you guys even like Jake Paul. People hate to realize that like he was a wrestler.
That's the wrestler in him.
He came to the wrestling factory.
The grind he's doing right now is the wrestler in him.
It's absolutely the wrestler in him, and you know he's gonna be fighting the PFL, and I would really love to have him come out to Spire and do a fight camp with us because we got Bobby Khalil there, who's Stipe's trainer.
Where would he go to high school?
He would have went to Westlake. He would have went to Westlake High School, and well. Dominic Abinator wrestled Logan Paul.
Yes.
In the sectionals or districts.
Logan, the one who went to OU?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's where his video that got famous of him being in the wrestling scene, like saying, "Come on!"
Yes.
and showing like random people. That's stupid stuff that we did as kids, like at wrestling, like when we did a wrestling tournament, like we didn't have the camera
venue.
Yeah, like it's insane. It's so funny, but what those guys have done to market themselves and still, you know, going out and signing these MMA fighters and helping these people like get to their next fight by paying their way or whatever it may be. Those guys still do a lot of good, and you know they still aren't afraid to say, "Hey, I wrestled." And the more influence that we're able to get those guys to do something, anything with wrestling would be great for our sport.
Agreed.
And I think people need to be like, stop hating on it so much and being like, "Oh, it's the Logan Paul and Jake Paul are tools." Like, nah, they're
entertainers.
They're entertainers. They're milking you for your money. Like they're doing their thing. That's what they're doing. I don't know if any of you guys saw this or not, but we got a special guest in the house today. Come here, Clover. Clover the dog. This is Coach Spooner's dog, Clover.
Hi, buddy.
How old is Clover? You said going to be 3?
He turned 3, so he's going out 4.
Got a doodle in the house.
He's supposed to, like I said, man, he is a horse, and he wasn't supposed to be. But he doesn't even know he's a horse.
Clover the dog.
He thinks he's a lap dog.
So we got Coach Spooner here today. This is episode 2, guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. Beat the Streets again. Thank you guys for having us out here to do this. I love being able to convey and you know, let the others that maybe don't know as much about Beat the Streets. This is just getting your guys' message out there just as much. And we're gonna be doing another one. Shoot another one Friday. I'm gonna be interviewing Christina. And she's the girls' development mentor, head wrestling coach for girls. And the dog is trying to get into the trash. But you guys stay tuned. We're going to get this one out the door, hopefully have it edited up, ready to go by this evening.
Oh, nice.
And then we'll get Christina's interview on Friday. So stay tuned, guys. Again, thank you, Mr. Spooner. I appreciate it, man.
All we need is more adults, man.
Yeah, and folks, if you want, how can they continue to donate? What's the easiest way for them to donate?
btscle.org. It says register now or donate now, right? And that's pretty much the 2 things that we have to worry about. So when they do that, it helps a ton.
These guys run on donations. This facility is free. This facility is free for them the wrestlers to come. And this is their safe haven, so they run off of these donations. And if you want, btscle.org to go ahead and donate. And you guys can also follow them on all their social media platforms. It's Beat the Streets Cleveland. And we'll see you guys Friday. Thanks again.